G'day guys, hope you're doing all amazing. Today I'm with a special guest today and I'm with Mike Dutta, who's a current councillor and now currently standing for Deputy Mayor and also Councillor for the Hobart City 2022 elections. So let's meet Mike Dutta. Hello, how are we going?
Hi Nitin, I am well, thank you.
That's good. Well, today we're going to speak about what's currently happening in the Hobart market, especially in terms of real estate, and this is mainly focusing on people who are currently owning, currently renting, and also currently investing as well. So, would love to know what would the Hobart market gonna look like in the next 5 years?
Good question. Let me respond by saying that it is always difficult to predict the market.
Correct.
Because there are external factors that impact on the market, and so because of the external factors like war or fuel prices and economic downturn, it is difficult to make the prediction. But I am of the view, it is my perception that when I extrapolate the information that's around, I am able to say that there is a likelihood of the population growth that is going to happen. And as the population grows, there is a demand. So there is that connection of demand, supply and demand. So that's an issue. Now, your other question with regards to rental market. Now, as you know, I've been here for a number of years, nearly 40 years I've been here. And when we first came, the rental market was very reasonable and cheap.
Yeah.
In the last few years, the rental market has gone pretty high. Now, the medium rental price is around $520 a week.
Correct.
Which is more expensive than maybe Brisbane or Melbourne, the biggest cities in the mainland. Now, what has caused that is the question for me. The answer that I am able to provide is that maybe if you look at the facts, the Airbnb, the visitor accommodation, where people have bought the houses or people who have houses, instead of renting it, they put it on visitor accommodation, Airbnb.
Right.
Now, in the last 4 years, Hobart has lost close to 500 houses.
Wow.
And that's quite a huge amount of houses going out of the rental market.
That's a massive number.
It is. So what it does, as you know, when you look at these facts, automatically, if the supply has gone out, the demand goes up, the rent goes up. And so that's the basic fact. The evidence clearly shows that. Point number 2, I think, is, as you know, there are lots of international students who have come in.
Right.
Lots of people who come in on special visas for migration purposes so that they can have a visa, then to have a resident permanent visa, and then go on and have permanent citizenship. So what has happened, while the state government, the state growth as it were, have got this program and plan to bring people in, they haven't catered for the infrastructure. They haven't catered for housing, as it were.
Right.
And there is a demand, as it were, again, if you look at the facts, of about 1,500 houses each year. And, we are not meeting that demand.
Right.
So while we're increasing the population, we are not supplying that amount. And the third point that you asked me about was in regards to investment.
Correct.
Now, this is a very good place to invest, as you know. Say, for example, if you were in Sydney, in a beautiful suburb, where you have a nice water view, where it's a very leafy suburb, you'd pay nothing less than $3, $4, $5 million for a house.
And that's even hard these days.
Absolutely.
The top of the market.
Yeah. So it's very, very expensive there. But the good thing here about Hobart, it's the natural beauty. the pristine natural beauty, the backdrop of the beautiful mountain, the river, Derwent, and in fact, wherever you go, as it were, whichever suburb you go to, you're most likely to have the water view.
Right.
Yeah, and so while you might pay 3, 4, 5 million in the bigger cities, for that same amount of money that you have, you could buy a place in a beautiful suburb for 2.5 or 3 million.
Yeah.
So while you pay 5 million there, you could buy the same here for 2.5 or 3 million. I mean, it's not cheap, still expensive, and if you can't afford that end of the market, then I think the houses you would be able to buy quite comfortably in a beautiful suburb or nice suburbs in Hobart would be around $700,000 or $800,000.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I always see investors doing. Like, instead of spending 1 or 2 million on one house in Sydney or Melbourne market, a lot of investors these days are tending to go more regional because the growth is massive. And especially if you have a look at Hobart market, you can get a house for like, let's say 500, 600, 700, where if you've got $1 million or 2 million of budget, you can easily get 1 or 2 houses or even 3 houses. Instead of having 1 house in Sydney, you can have 3 houses in your portfolio in different suburbs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And get a higher rental.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's the beauty of the investment aspect of it. Yeah, but it doesn't, unfortunately, we should also look at what I think is the affordable housing. That needs to be addressed, and the government really needs to look into that, of affordable housing. While the rich and the upper class are able to afford these $1 million houses, you don't expect people who are at the lower end of the spectrum, of the economic spectrum, to afford that kind of houses.
100%.
So affordable houses is important, and there needs to be some sort of a government program to bring this around. And the other aspect for me, which is very important when we talk about housing, is social housing. Because social housing is very important, that the government should continue to build more social housing so it can accommodate people who can't really afford.
Yes.
Because housing for me is a human right. It's a human right that everybody should have a house, and the government should play an important part and role. So it's not only for some of us rich who can buy half a dozen homes and make money out of it, but we need to be looking at it from a different perspective to say we are a community, and as a community, we need to have that humanity in us, and social housing and affordable housing is very, very important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, 100%.
So, the point with regards to commercial development or investment development, I think the way Hobart needs to go, it's not high rises, because Hobart is not into high rise.
That's right.
And I think that is a very important point to remember. So the way to go down and talk about development, I think, would be to develop some of, remember the kayards we have on Argyle Street and a number of other streets, where we could start infill development, and a medium density development is the way to go. So instead of having 80 or 100 units, you could have 10, 15 or even 18 or 20, 30 units in each block, and that would again meet the supply and demand of housing.
Absolutely. And instead of having one house on land, you can have multiple houses. We're talking about tens of houses, not hundreds and thousands, just like other big cities. But it's good to have more than one house on a land, which helps to solve the current housing crisis as well, so that more people can live in one area. It's going to also build a community as well. So a lot of people, it's going to grow a lot of population in the near future, so it's going to help a lot of people to find the affordable homes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the key thing, I think, affordable housing, so that people can afford it. And also, if they live in the city where the infrastructure is already there, you don't have to create that infrastructure if you went out and have the greenfield development.
Yes.
So that's the advantage of it, because you have the infrastructure already there. And the other thing of advantage is it's going to be in the city, and people can walk to work, if they work in the city. So again, climate change, pollution, all those things have so many other ramifications.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for that. So what you want to tell to people in Hobart who's listening to this, in terms of what's happening now, what's happening in the election, and who's working, who's standing in the election, and what can they expect in the coming days?
Well, as you know, the Hobart City Council and there's about 29 councils in the state
Right.
of Tasmania, 29 councils. Now, I am a candidate in the Hobart City Council, and we have 44 candidates
Wow.
who are standing for election.
That's
and
tough competition.
That's very tough competition, and there's only 12 seats. So at present, I am in the council as a councillor.
Yes.
And I was one of the first with my daughter, Zelinda Sherlock, to be elected as a father and daughter in 170 years. A person of color
yeah.
to be elected to the council. So we are very humbled and very privileged to be elected by the people of Hobart to this position. And we are very pleased to serve them. Now, this time around, I am running together with the Lord Mayor, who is the current Lord Mayor, Anna Reynolds.
Yeah.
She is running as the Lord Mayor and I am running as a deputy. And with us, we have 6 other people who are in our team. Now, we are all independents. We are not a party. We are just a union or group of individuals who have come together because of our values. And so my suggestion to whoever is listening to this, if you haven't voted, you only have another maybe 10 days to vote, because it's due on the 25th at 2 p.m. The ballots must arrive, and the TCE, if it comes later, it won't be accepted. So I encourage all of you to have a look at each candidate. The booklet was sent out. Our little profile is mentioned in there. And if you want to vote for us, if you think we are worthy candidates, well, we'll value your number 1 vote. But if you think there are others, then that is your democratic right to choose whoever you want.
That's good. Well, thank you so much, Mike Dutta, for having me here and also explaining what's it's like in the coming few years. The Hobart market's going to look like, and all you Hobart people out there, trying to vote as early as you can, but also make right decision depending on who you are voting and what are they going to do for us. Not only just doing your favors in being in the government, but also doing the right thing. Not only the short-term goals, short-term favors, but also long-term planning for the future of Hobart. So I hope you enjoyed this session with Mike Dutta. Do let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. And also I'll be having Mike Dutta to answer those questions for you in the future. So stay tuned for more videos like this. And then thank you so much, Mike Dutta, for having me here.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it.